you're going to look at all the different pieces of a puzzle and say, okay, what is this site? How did it get here? Tell me how it got here in this shape and this length. And, so we've had maybe 3 or 4 different theories try to prove what they say it is because they don't think it's Noah's Ark. And all those theories, and someone said there were past studies done, those theories and past studies done have not actually been on site. Most of those guys have not gone out here with a Turkish university with an approved project and then publish their results. No, they come out and take pictures and maybe they walk down on it as a tourist, and then they go back to America and they say, oh, okay, I think it's a basement rock coming up. I think it's a syncline. I think it's a whole chunk of limestone that rolled down the hill, and then over millions of years the glacier formed a boat out of it. Those are some of the 3 or 4 main theories out there by individuals who have never done something out here. No official project, no actual geological studies, geophysical studies, or there's one individual that did do, who was out here initially, changed his mind, but the reason why he changed his mind doesn't make any sense because his Turkish partner involved in all those studies totally disagreed with his conclusions, and with him changing his mind. So, and we can talk about that another time, but for this question, do I truly believe that this is Noah's Ark? Yeah, I do. Is it 100%? As I tell everyone, I don't think you'll find a plaque that says Noah and Sons built this or whatever on the side of the boat. But there's got to be more. For me right now, the thing is almost like a divine stamp of approval that this is Noah's Ark is the length and shape. Like, how do you get a boat shaped exactly? Like, what's the coincidence on that? So to me, that's where you say, okay, let's study this further. Let's put the time and money and our resources into studying this because no one else is, or whoever's done it in the past has been incomplete. And so we're trying to go beyond that. So yes, I do believe. I'm not gonna say it's 100%. We're trying to make that 100%. But even in archaeology, when you have even an inscription, you have archaeologists fighting over the interpretation of the inscription. You get 10 different views from 10 different archaeologists when you stick them in the room for something else, not just this site. So I'm not concerned that others are attacking us. It's sad that those who are online, especially the new people that are out there, there's some well-known names who had nothing to do with the search for Noah's Ark, and they're in fact pushing their own books and on other relics. But, those people didn't even contact us or ask us questions. They just assumed that we're out here doing something crazy or illegal. They say, oh, they don't have archaeologists on the team. You know how many archaeologists we have on our team? On the foreign side, we have 2. And on the Turkish side, we have 5. 3 of them are students and 2 of them are PhD level. And we can bring in more if we need to when the time is right. So these people didn't talk to us, but they slandered us on social media. And then people start quoting that, saying, oh, this guy who's well known says you have no archaeologists. Yeah, I'm not an archaeologist, but I'm the guy out there, facilitating, promoting, you can say fundraising, putting the parts together. Now I'm the vice president of this effort. So I don't have to be involved, but I'm the connection between all these different pieces, and that's the way it worked out. But let's get to our next question. Okay, those are 37 minutes. That's just the first questions that are on our post on Facebook. Here we get to the meat. This is the next question. Previous investigators at Durupinar have repeatedly concluded it is a natural geological formation. What new evidence do you have that overcomes those published conclusions, rather than simply reinterpreting the same data? So first of all, we're in the middle of this professional permit, that we have attained, season of work. So this is not a finished conclusion, but we're doing this because I said earlier, there's an interest in this site, and the past studies have been inconclusive. You're saying that this guy is claiming that everyone has repeatedly concluded it's a natural geological formation. I would disagree. Dr. Salih Bayrak-Tutan, who's retired, and he is not involved right now in this part of the project, but he's retired, and he believes this is the best candidate. He's repeatedly stated that. We just filmed him with a friend earlier this year, and he's repeatedly said that this is the best candidate for Noah's Ark. There's no other candidate. I mean, show me a site on the mountain or in Judy or in Iran or wherever you want to put Noah's Ark. Show me that and we can compare data. We can go out there and start the work on that site. Has there been repeatedly conclusions that this is a natural geological formation? There's been statements by people, you can say some of those people have never been out here. Others might have, but didn't do professional geological work. There's nothing out there that said they did. One guy came out here. He's a Turkish person. I don't forget his last name. Even his son contacted me. I've never met him. They requested I go see them. Maybe I will, and I'll ask him why did he conclude this, because in his report that was peer-reviewed and published, he says this is a solid block of limestone rock that came down from above in part of this landslide that came in and then got stuck here. And then he said over millions of years, or I don't know if he said that part, but he said over time, geological processes like glaciers went through this area and formed the boat shape. So first of all, but then he even stated at the end, I don't know if it was in the published version or the unpublished his original manuscript, where he says we need to do, future geologic or geophysical studies will, help firm up his conclusions or show whether they're right or not. Well, no, that was published in 2010, I think, this study by Murat, I forget his last name. But here's a conclusion, and that doesn't make any sense from even walking on it. It's not a solid limestone block in the shape of a ship. It's earth and unconsolidated earth material. There are different boulders in there.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
But the chemistry of the ship is different from outside, and we're going to continue to prove that, or I should say we continue to study that, see what we got in 2024 is correct, with a 3 times difference in organic matter. But you're walking on it, you only see the boulders in the middle, that is limestone, and the big ones you can see right down there. But in regards to his conclusion that it's a solid rock, no, none of the geophysical surveys from 2014, the ERT, to our survey in 2019, using GPR, to just physically walking on the site, none of that shows it to be a solid rock. Even though 1 or 2 cores that were drilled into it in 1988 went through dirt. But they lost all their data because they were using water to cool the bit, and that's what we won't be doing that mistake on this one. But that they never hit a solid block of rock below the surface that was limestone. So that's a peer-reviewed by somebody. I don't know if he came out here. I'm not going to say he didn't, but his conclusions are all wrong. And so that's part of science, right? You study it and you can refine your conclusions. You change them if new data comes along. But to say, but this guy is basically trying to say, why are you doing it? Everyone concluded that it's geological and it's a freak of nature or whatever. It's not man-made. Well, I'm saying that those past studies were inconclusive, not done correctly. Future ERT work, GPR work disproved those earlier conclusions. And so, yeah, we're going to continue, and that's the answer to that. Let's see. So one guy left a question or a comment. I suppose over 4,000 years, the top side part of the ark was scraped for wood. So what's left is the hull and the bottom buried in the ground. It's a good hypothesis, and we're going to have to prove that. But it makes sense, if you have a boat that's decaying away and then it gets covered by dirt, what's left? Whatever's exposed would be gone over thousands of years. Now, people who say, well, why do you even look for Noah's Ark? Nothing is left because Noah and his children, or that first or second generation of people after the flood, would have torn it apart for wood, for firewood or homes. In regards to the home part, we know in the Bible Noah lived in a tent for at least part of the season. And maybe it was the summer when he got drunk on wine, but it says he was living in a tent. And the traditional homes in this area, which you can see there's hardly any trees around right now, but they're made of stone with a flat roofing of soil and dirt, and then some beams from these fast-growing like cypress-type trees. I don't know if they're called cypress, whatever they're called, these straight-growing trees. And then they grow really fast out here, and they use them for the beams, and that's what they use for the roofing. But the stones, traditionally stone and now cement block homes of the Kurds and people who live in these villages here, they're not wood. Now you have a massive wooden boat. Would Noah have lived there much longer? I think when that door opened, he ran out, and God said, "Get out." God didn't say, "Stay in the ark." So maybe that first night, I don't know. I don't think he would want to even be in there. That first night after the flood, maybe he did. I wasn't there. But the point that it was destroyed by people using it up, I think from historical documents, ancient historians writing that mention Noah's Ark outside of the Bible, no, that never happened. Josephus, who quotes a lot of these people, he was living right after the time of Christ. Up to that time and past the time of Josephus and the time of Christ, you have these ancient historians saying that the boat existed in the mountains out in this area in eastern Turkey now, and that pilgrims would go out here and scrape off the bitumen, the tar, the pitch, for lucky charms, talisman, as a souvenir. People today, when they go to a site, and they're not supposed to, but they might take a rock, and they might take a soil, or if you're at another archaeological site, maybe they'll take something else. But the point is that this type of activity was going on way back 1,000 years after, the floods. That means the boat existed. Logically, that means that these historians are writing about people seeing the ark, whatever the condition was. Definitely doesn't seem to be perfectly preserved, of course, but whatever was left at that time, they were taking pieces of it still. But it doesn't seem like they were taking big pieces. So at any rate, that means the ark was not consumed and destroyed right after the flood. So yes, we think we can still do scientific research wherever Noah's Ark is, which we think is right there. So we think we can still research it. Are you able to take samples of anything left inside to study or test? Take pictures of the interior and release to the public? Can you release everything you find, or will some of it be kept private? What constraints are you under as far as releasing what you find? Does the government or an agency have to approve all public releases? So in regards, let's take this, there's a lot of questions in there. Our project plan, we can take as many samples as we need. It just says, we can't go beyond what we need. So we determine what we need. So no one's saying you only can take one. No, we can take hundreds of soil samples, and who knows how many core drillings going deep we'll do. But there's no constraints on that. It's based on the scientific need, in which we are determining with our team here. Can we take pictures inside and release it to the public? Yes, and we will. But in regards to the timing, that will be dependent on when certain things happen. A lot of these scientific expeditions, they obviously want to first do the research and then get data back from the laboratories after you do the field work out here before you make a big publicity. Now, we're doing the same thing, but we're also saying we're doing the work. That's the publicity we're putting out, is like, hey, a team is out there working on this site, help us do the next step. That's kind of the PR we're doing. But in regards to their conclusions, that's going to come later. Will we keep everything? Will we release everything or keep it private? There's no need to keep it private. If we come up with negative data, we're going to say, hey, this is our data. We'll put the data out there, and some people can come with a different conclusion. So even that will be possible. Maybe someone will say, well, this, you concluded this, I will conclude this, but we'll put the data out there. Do we have any constraints? No one has come up and said, don't say this or that. So we're good there. Does the government or an agency have to approve all public releases? We're working with a university, so the professor and they'll put the report out. So we're not going to jump the gun. We'll talk about what we did, but the conclusions, we're going to wait for them to put their conclusions out, and our team will also have a report put out, and that's how we'll deal with that. But in regards to who's constraining us, stopping us, no one's doing that. What if okay, next question. We're trying to go fast because my battery's dying. What if your findings turn out to be a natural geological formation? Then it will be out there in the public. Say we did the most complete, thorough survey of this geological rock.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
So, do the drogestones found in the village of 8 and on the mountain form a path as they were gradually stopped from the ark? Ron White believed they did, but the two groups of stones. Now he claimed he found 3 or 2 out in this mud flow, which no one else has found, and then he said he had found 12 plus more in the village of 8, which is the current village of Salaksuyu or Arzap. So from there to here, yeah, of course you can draw a line, or you can go around the mountains and form a path. But there's not like a breadcrumb path of these stones all going all the way to this site. There's no one ever claimed that, even Ron. So no, there's not a path like that. At what point, if any, will you be digging down to expose prior scan findings? Well, we're drilling down. That's our goal this year, is to drill down to prior scan findings, like angular hallways, voids, parallel lines, layers. Yeah, can't wait. Were you able to meet and talk with Ron Wyatt? How much of his research is applicable to what you're doing now at the site? Are you planning to publish your results in any recognizable scientific journal? Thanks for allowing all the questions. Yes, I did meet him at that time I met him, I was in college. I just graduated from high school, actually. It was the summer of 95 and then 96. And then in 97, I actually went out to Noah's Ark. But before that, I used to talk to him on the phone. I was in middle school, maybe 13 or 14 years old, and this was in 1990, 1991. And that got the interest of me because he had come out to Sacramento, California, where I lived at the time, and gave a meeting about all those discoveries and findings. And my father went to it. I saw the brochure, and I asked my dad to go because I wanted to hear him, but I was a geek back then, and I wanted to do all my homework. I had homework due the next day. It was a Thursday night meeting, so it wasn't a weekend. So my father went. He came back and said, "Hey, this guy said he found everything." And I said, "Oh, interesting." And then my dad, took some notes, but I wanted to get more details, and we looked up and found out he had a book. Or my father told me he had a book, so I bought it from a local Christian bookstore. And I went through the book. It was very small, though, paperback, and this generated more questions, so I had to call him. And back then, this is 90 or 91, before the internet, which took off in the mid-90s, so there was no emailing somebody or looking up the information, no digital books. So I called 411, and the person asked me what city I wanted to dial through, and I said Madison, Tennessee, because he had his P.O. box address inside cover of the book. And they asked me if I want to connect through to him, and I said yes. I wanted to connect and talk to the guy, and he picked up. And he said, sorry, he walked in the door at the time. He said, I just walked in the door from a trip to Israel. Can you call me tomorrow? I remember those words. I said, okay, sure. And I was very surprised he picked up. And so the next day, I was really prepared. I had all these questions I remember. And this is before we didn't even have a computer. So I was writing this by hand. Later, because I called him so much, later, I don't know how much later, I started recording secretly the phone calls. 'Cause I wanted to make a transcript, so I would listen and write it up, by hand. Later, we had a computer; I could type it up. But I reused the tapes because I had a low budget. I couldn't call as much once my parents saw the phone bill. This is before unlimited minutes, and so a lot of I looking back, I was like, oh, I wish I asked him this question or that question, or saved all those audio tapes. I have some that I digitized later, not much, but yeah. So I did know Ron in that way as a kid, but I was also talking to this was more than just Ron Wyatt. I was talking to people involved in his work, like David Fazold and Dr. William Shea, Bill Shea. So, and I wrote letters to other people who had done their own independent work on other sites, like the Mount Sinai and Arabia site. I wrote letters to Larry Williams, and I don't know if I wrote a letter to Bob Kornuk. And then later I met the Caldwells. This was after I think Ron had passed away, though. I knew about them. And then Dr. Kim and other people doing research up for Mount Sinai. But Fazold, and then later I wrote to Dr. John Baumgartner. I got in contact with Dr. Sally Bayrak-Tutan. They all knew Ron or working on the same sites that he was. Who else? I wrote letters to Collins, who wrote the paper with Fazold against the site, saying it was a syncline. And Collins has just passed away, I think, last year. Anyways, yes, I did know Ron. How much of his resources applicable? Some. There's three types of research he mainly did here. One was the metal detector scans, which we're not really doing because we're trying to go deep, and that's more shallow. We could repeat it. A friend did repeat part of that. Maybe someday we could do that. We can get the exact GPS locations of every beep and then map it out on our map. But then he did a GPR. And so that part we are comparing and looking, but with digital now, that was pieces of paper and not all that was scanned in. And sadly, they don't know. Like his family said, oh, we don't know what scan was what, or the paper is really faded now. Now it's all digital, so our 2019 data, it's all saved in multiple locations on the cloud and on hard drives. So we can hand that off to different scientists to look at, and we can make 3D models. A printed piece of paper from the mid-90s of Ron's scans, no, you can't do much with it unless he gave us the exact location on the boat that he's getting these results. Now, some of them are in the Doomsday Mountain, Noah's Ark book about Ron's life and his research into this. But yeah, other than that, no. There's not much we can do beyond him making claims and us looking for, he talked about the rib timbers that he scraped the site on that mini excavation in 1990 with Richard Reeves, and that's on the southeast side of the pointed end. Maybe there we could redo that and try to validate with our soil sampling survey what's going on with that, because he took pictures, but I have never seen of any actual chemical study he did or planned to do on why he was seeing the water. I'm thinking I need water right now. Seeing the lighter versus darker vertical columns. So like, why is it doing that? Why is the soil doing that? Which we would like to know too. So there's some things where he's making the claims and then we want to validate it, like beyond like, hey, this is Noah's Ark, he's claiming, okay, we want to validate it. But his actual research, we could talk in another time about I think someone did ask the question. Yeah, in fact, the next one is the ancient stele he said he found above. We gotta get some water here.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait, visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
So let's finish this question. So then the next thing this guy asked after Ron Wyatt, and did I know him? Are you planning to publish your results in any recognized scientific journal? Yes, that is the goal of the Turkish scientists involved, and we're supportive. We're doing this work with them. We're paying for it. So yeah, we're not trying to hide anything. Thanks for allowing all the questions. Yes, you're most welcome. Next question from Lauren. Will you begin excavating the graves of the giants in the area after the Ark expedition completes? Someone knows a little plan there. And other people are saying, what are the graves of the giants? And I see people are laughing at the question. Well, we have at least 4 stories besides Ron's, or in addition to Ron's, of giant skeleton. When I say giant, like larger than normal people today, not like 40 feet. What we're looking at is people saying maybe they were 12 or 15 feet, 18 feet, I don't know. But the stories from 4 different locals, from different villages, people who don't know each other from different times over the last 40 years, is that they have seen the graves or they know a location. I don't know if stories spread and then people make up stuff, or if some of these stories are from people who were younger, like early teens, maybe at that time. When they see an adult grave for the first time, they think that's huge, and because they're smaller, they're not as tall at that time in their life. I don't know, but everyone has a very similar story that the skull is larger, and you can always put it as as a helmet over your own skull or your own head. So that does suggest larger. And then one guy even said that the arm bone that they saw in the grave was just as big as what you consider the femur, the big. Your big leg bone. So our plan is not really we're going to excavate a giant grave. Our plan is to excavate sites that contain graves, just so we can understand what's going on in this region. And as we excavate, if we see that they're bigger, that's going in the report. So that's all I'll say right now. But yeah, we do have future plans. The archaeologists have pointed out 2 sites that is possible would contain these type of individuals. Maybe they're just taller in this area. Maybe they're Nephilim. I don't know, but this is something we're just you're not going to put down in your archaeological permit. We would like to excavate Nephilim graves. We would like to excavate sites that have we can tell that they're grave sites, or that we have stories of it, or we find the pottery around, so we want to find what's going on there. So yes, that is a goal, Lauren. We're gonna find out with all these stories coming out of the area about taller people here, if they're even people. Maybe the mix. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not. Is the ancient stele site? Okay, we talked a little bit about that. I mentioned that we're going to have a question about that. Is the ancient stele that was located up on the hill? So that would be this way up in the border area, kind of almost directly uphill from the boat shape on that side of the mud flow or earth flow. Has it been recovered or put back together? I heard it was destroyed and the pieces were scattered about, and you could still see the artwork on the pieces. I'm going to have to save that question for a separate video. It's a very involved question. And because we did do the research for that way before this time, it was 2021 and 22, I think. So maybe not way before, but that's when I went up there and it took a while to get the permits and fly the drone and do all this research. I did a paper on it. It's on our website. You can have to dig around to find it under the resources or reports. I presented about it at the 2023 Noah's Ark Symposium at Augur University. So the data's been out there, but we didn't really make a video about it because it was negative. And I'll just tell you now, it wasn't what Ron thought. So to make a video about it, and we already get people attacking us because it's like, oh, you're not Ron Wyatt, or you're trying to take the glory. You didn't mention his name, by the way. This video, we have mentioned Ron Wyatt's name many times, so please don't leave a comment that we don't give Ron Wyatt credit. And I did know him as a kid, at least. No one's trying to grab the attention or credit. We're doing this work that goes beyond what he did, trying to prove that it's Noah's Ark, that other people beyond Ron Wyatt thought it was Noah's Ark, like Captain Durupinar, who found it. Please don't leave those type of comments. We'll delete them or laugh at them. Let's see. So I'm going to save that as another time. We will deal with the stele. But I'll just say right now, it is not what he thought it was. will you be sending a robot underground with a camera to explore? Yes, that is the goal. You might have saw some of the posts or heard about it. So we'll be drilling holes later in the year, getting down to what we think are cavities based on the geophysical reports. And not just for putting in a camera on a robot, but also getting the soil samples and the data out from those depths. Have you found petrified gopher wood? No, we haven't done that yet. So, have any independent scientists or researchers examined your findings? We just started. So, in the future, yes, they will be able to. We'll put out open source data and peer reviewed and books and videos and the reports themselves. And some of the stuff will be analyzed at 3 different labs. So, yeah, that will be possible, but not right now. It's only mid-July. 2 weeks ago, we started the work. How do you determine that the structure is man-made rather than a natural formation? How do you determine that? Well, if this is, like, let's look at the ideas that it's a natural formation. One, a solid block of rock. Right now we know it's not, so then what else is it? They say, oh, it's earth that went around a rock obstruction. As the mud came down the hill, it formed an oval shape. They're every...
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
Where this one, no, it's not that way. There's no rock at the pointed top end. And so the dirt that would have come down and formed the oval shape, they say, where's that rock? And the pointed end would be downhill. That's how fluid dynamics work. You're not going to find gravity working backwards over here. So this shape is not with the pointed end downhill and the oval obstructed end uphill. It's the complete opposite. The rounded end is right down here, and the pointed end is right up there. How else will we determine that's man-made? Well, we're hoping that there's preserved structure that we're seeing on the GPR, the geophysical surveys, that we can determine that they're man-made and not just natural. So how do you do that? Lab results, lab tests. If it's limestone rock, then no, that's not man-made. Now, if they put the limestone rock in and make a wall out of it, yes, you can say that is man-made. But for this to be a ship, you can't put limestone, which is flood deposit rock, and then make something inside of it and say that's Noah's Ark then. Because that would happen later, the rocks forming that type of sedimentary rock. So then that would be something else. So in regards to this, we don't know what those type of angular structures and layers are that are below the ground, the perpendicular lines, and those other layers are the horizontal ones. That's what we want to determine. But some things that we can look at in regards to the data is if the organic matter there is higher levels, especially deep in the site. If we can find ancient poop, some people, animal remains, people coming in there, the rooms. If there's something preserved over time with mineralized wood, I don't know if you can call it fossilized wood. People say there's no pressure involved to form the site here, so you couldn't call it fossilized. But you can have cell replacement or mineralized wood. There's different forms ways that this can happen over time when things get buried. It can be just the imprint, especially the top part where we're looking at, where the mud and dirt covered it and things decayed away. Things near the surface are now gone, but the chemical imprint is there. that we're really going to study, things that people won't think about and they're walking on top of, that we can look in a lab and say, hey, this is not natural organic material here, but man-made. Maybe there's something in there, the ancient pollen that's deeper in the site. If this is just a rock formation like a syncline, unless there's a crack that opened up and then pollen went in, there are things that we can determine that, okay, this is not a syncline, this is not a solid block of rock. So the things we can rule out. To prove it's man-made, it's more difficult, and it requires careful study, and we're trying to do that. I'm trying to be careful and bring in these professionals and get the funding to do this work. And hopefully there are things that are mineralized that will form right angles down there, that will form rooms and doors and walls if it was preserved that way and not just all decayed away. We'll see. And I'm being attacked by the bugs. Will you guys be the first to prove this is Noah's Ark categorically? I don't. We're going beyond what other people have done. We're not trying to say we're better than someone. We just have, either more funding or more better technology today. And I think that's why God has let the work continue, is because now we have access to stuff that you didn't have 40 years ago. We're not trying to be the first of anything. We're just trying to do the work. So are we the first? I don't know. You guys can decide. We're not the first to say this, like we discovered this site. This site was discovered in 1959 by Captain Durupinar. And we're going to leave that one. Let's see. No, actually, we can answer that one. Will you be able to do LiDAR vertically at different levels to be able to do XYZ axis truly 3D? Well, you're looking at, we did that actually in 2019. We just it's a massive amount of data, over 500 million points. We just have to find a way to put it online, and there's ways now, it looks like there are viewers in the browser that you can look at it yourself. But on our high-end laptops we have now, we can easily turn it around and look at it. We're not going to do LiDAR again, actually. We thought we would, but we got enough from before. We're doing other type of research, but we did get LiDAR all the way around it, on top of it. Now, it was terrestrial. It was based on the ground. They had a tripod. It was not a drone based, because at that time we didn't have permits to fly a drone with LiDAR on it. But yeah, that's been done. Will you be using air, foam, core drilling, or water pressure? I believe water pressure cores have been attempted once before, unfortunately with poor results. Thanks, James. Yes, it's called sonic, actually. Now, that's what we want to do. We put it in our project plan that was submitted and approved. We'll see exactly. We have a consultant with a drilling company in the United States. I have a phone call coming up with to review what we want to do and make any suggestions. Let's see what he says. But sonic is more expensive, I heard, and slower, but it will preserve the whole core, because we're not looking at it like a solid rock we're going through. And we'll show that with the cores, like that one guy claims. This is unconsolidated material, different types of compressed soil and clay, and you might run into a boulder, different sizes, as you're drilling these holes through the ground. So we have to preserve all that in one core piece, and sonic is a really good way versus in the past using water, which they used water to cool the bit, but that washes all your data away, because if it's just soil inside the tube, you're shooting water through it to cool your bit at the bottom drilling, and then you pull it up and the whole tube is empty except for bits of rocks at the bottom. That's what they did in 1988, and somehow some people say, oh, this proved that this is not Noah's Ark. You got zero data, zero usable data. According to the Turkish geologist who was partnered on this team, he was the senior on the team, and he was the Turkish side of this Turkish-American expedition. So they did 4 or 5 holes and got zero good data. So you can't even use anything out of that. So James, you're right, that was poor results. And hopefully today people stop saying, oh, they cored it and found nothing. It's true, they found nothing because they got no data out of it. So it didn't prove or disprove Noah's Ark. Let's see. Okay, while many of us believe it to be an actual sure, is there really any definite evidence that could be uncovered that would actually convince at least rational critics? Yeah, I like you say rational critics, because you will get people who, no matter what you show, won't believe, even in miracles.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
Christ said to the Pharisees, even if I raise someone from the dead, you will not believe. And he did. He raised Lazarus from the dead, the biggest miracle ever. Someone who's dead comes back to life, and they didn't believe that was the Messiah. So that is spectacular. They try to kill Lazarus, they said, I think in John or one of the Gospels that mentions that they try to kill him. And of course, to me, that's illogical, irrational, because then Christ could have raised them up again. So in regards to scientific data, in archeology, you're going to deal with levels of certainty and interpretation from different people. And I'm only saying that because look at the archaeological fights you see on the news or in reports or at their conferences. People always saying, no, this is this, and another guy with a PhD who spent years teaching it or in the field, he's going to say something else. Both have PhDs. Which one's right? But they're both scientists. So we're talking about interpretation of the data. Now, what would we find that you can say rational critics could then say, oh, okay, this is Noah's Ark. I think if we could find structure that's preserved somehow deeper in the site, not near the surface. So when I say structure, Noah's Ark was a boat. So what would be preserved for Noah's Ark would be compartments, like the book of Genesis says in chapter 6. Hallways, doors, and corridors, evidence that people or animals live there. Things that the mud and dirt covered up over time. When they excavate a ship anywhere else in the world, Bronze Age, Greek, Roman, Middle Ages, the Norwegian ships, the Viking ships, these wooden vessels. How do they prove it's a wooden vessel that's in it? There's goods left. We don't know what Noah left. Do they break some pottery? Do they have stoneware? Do they have metal? What do they leave on the ship? Or what about tourists coming back over the years? What do they leave? It shows people visited this site. There's things we would, you have to find. It's material culture. Geologically, if everything's gone, we're looking at the chemistry too. Like what's going on that makes this different. Because if this is just the same dirt that just came in and made a boat shape somehow, that's exactly Noah's Ark length, then it should be the same soil inside and out. And if it's different soil inside, then are we sure it's done because of a decayed wooden boat versus just water coming in? Some people said this is just an area where you have a depression, and so water came in, so that's why the organics is higher because grass grows better. Okay, we'll prove that. But when you're on the site, especially the upper end, it's not a depression. You're at an angle, and that area is flat, and it's just as flat as right outside the rim of that ship shape. So some of these things people have said have not actually, I know these people, they have not actually been out here. Or they snuck a secret trip in and they didn't tell me. So yeah, I think rational critics, we're looking at, trying to find structures preserved or man-made or animal remains, not from the animals dying on the boat, but like poop or something. So yeah, let's see. How does a catastrophic flood preferentially sort specific species into specific strata to give the illusions of a gradual transition over time as per the theory of evolution? Wow. Let me read that again. And I'm not a geologist. Let's see. Yeah, they're basically, I think they're making fun of evolutionist theory. A good point there. No, or maybe they're not. Oh, let me see, read that again. Maybe I'm wrong and they're making fun of us. How does it kind of flood? Oh, yeah, they're attacking creationists. Okay. Well, the question is flood related, and this is beyond what we're doing here on the Ark. But I think what they're stating is false. No one's saying it gives the illusion of gradual transition. Yeah, it's an illusion, but I don't know if it even has an illusion in regards to gradual transition over time. Differentially sort specific species. So maybe you can give an example of what you mean of how you're saying the flood would do that. Like what species you're talking about and where you're saying that it shows a gradual illusion of gradual transitions. I'm going to leave that alone. write a follow-up question. We'll do these more often too. If a void is located, can a borehole be dug and a camera sent in? That is in our project plan that's been approved by the Turkish government. So yes, we'll be doing that, Lord willing. Let's see. Why are all the mountaintops higher than the Durupinar region? This contradicts what Genesis says about the months of recessional waters until the mountaintops are visible. I think people are misunderstanding the theory about where it's at now. The idea that, number one, that this is the original location, a lot of people believe, and we want to see that too based on the soil. If it compares, we compare it to soil from other parts of this mountainside. But those who think this is Noah's Ark believe that it landed higher up near the top of it. And then it came down over time through different natural methods, like a landslide or earth flow. So in regards to like the highest mountain, you have volcanoes here all around us. What's interesting, this is sedimentary rock in this area, up above and below, and these areas right here, this is limestone, different types of limestone. I think there's even sandstone, but there's basalt too. There's volcanic rock in the mix. But the big volcanoes, they're post-flood volcanoes. The type of lava you're looking at are post-flood eruptions. They're not pillow lava from underwater. The sediments, what's going on below the what you see above ground, the volcano mountain. I'm looking at Mount Ararat right now, using that as the example because everyone who's against this site is either looking for the ark there or another location. But Mount Ararat is a post-flood volcano. I've not seen anything that's shown that it was erupting underwater and it was visible or around during the time of the flood. So you have larger mountains that happened after the flood. But yeah, so that's the answer to that question. Andrew, would it not make sense to take a few samples of what looks to be those huge outside beams that were exposed after the earthquake to see if they're petrified wood or something? I'm not sure which beams Daniel, you're talking about. Now there are areas where they're all really fractured, or there are areas even the ERT was showing something solid going a vertical 20-foot area. Remember, we know that spot. Or just from people saying when they put in the stakes during the ERT scans in 2014, they hit something solid about 2 inches in, about 20 feet up and down, and 2 inches or 2 feet wide. So we need to check that out. Yeah, we know those type of sites. If that's what you're talking about, the soil sampling project part of the plan is to get samples from different locations, not just random locations, but even specific sites that people have looked at and thought, oh, is this part of a boat? So we'll check those things out. Ron White, or the people around his time, claimed to have found parts of steel rivets that held the ark together. The metallurgical composition was apparently advanced, containing an amount of aluminum. Are you looking out for finding additional rivets? Anything that is petrified or fossilized or man-made looking, if they fall out and if they come to, we see them in the coring, we'll keep an eye out for that.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait, visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
Obviously, if it doesn't look natural, then that'd be interesting. Our permit is to do geological and geophysical work. We'll make note of anything outside of that we can include in our next year's permit to study further. I have to say that there was some misinterpretation of the lab reports about the aluminum. But you can find those reports online and video clips, take screenshots, or the actual photographs of those files, upload them to ChatGPT if you don't know how to read them, and ask the questions about what does this show and what's the aluminum differences, and does it say it's man-made or natural aluminum, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. We did that and we realized, there was some misinterpretation of the data. That doesn't mean this is not Noah's Ark, but it does show that you have to be careful in how you interpret your data. So just like the Stelly question, maybe that's a future video. We're not here to disprove someone. We're here to try to figure out what's going on with this site. It might, in the end, disprove him, Ron Wyatt. I don't know. We think it's Noah's Ark, so we're moving forward with our testing. How soon will you be able to send in the underground drone? That's later in the year we'll be doing that. We're not giving the exact dates, thanks to these, I hate to use the term, these idiots, these people who don't know what they're doing, who are trying to stop us, what we're doing. So we're not going to give them exact details so they can try to mess it up. Is there any evidence of wood in the structure? Well, they have, like I say, chemically, we have a signature of the soil inside being 3 times different, suggesting that decayed matter, there's a concentration of the decayed matter in a boat shape. That's exactly the length of Noah's Ark. So we're going to go beyond that. We figured out we asked some experts, and we have some experts involved who can take that beyond the 3 times organic matter and really go in depth with that, study and figure out what type of matter it is and how old it is and all that type of stuff that will help us with whether it's a wooden structure there that decayed or this natural whatever. And then someone said, excellent question. Yes. Oh, that was actually Noah's Ark Scans. Excellent question. I'm not going to read the replies to these questions because there's too many questions here. How many dinosaurs were on the, quote, Ark? I wasn't there, so I don't know. I think that was a joke question. Thanks, Larry Gray. What's your explanation of other similar natural sites that are in close vicinity of this one? Please send us the GPS. I know of 2 that they said was like this one, and when you go to the site in person or even look at it on Google Earth, it's not. And they say they're all over Mount Ararat. Well, if there's a 300 Egyptian cubit boat-shaped site that you want to investigate as Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat, that looks like a ship, then please start your fundraising and invite us to your location. We'll try to help you out with the permit process and be involved in helping you prove what the site is. Right now we're focused on this site. Are there oval shapes in the world? There are. Are there oval shapes, are there boat shapes that are 300 cubits long in the location of Ararat that the Bible says that has interesting chemical and geophysical survey results? I haven't seen any other one, or we would go and compare with this site. And so if you're interested in looking for Noah's Ark, and I've seen people give blurry photographs or use Google Earth, 3D, and say the Ark is here and there on the mountain, and yet all the thousands of people who have climbed this mountain, you can do it today yourself and put the money into it, I have not seen this object that they say is up there. So, if you find a site that we can study, we'll study it and compare it to this site. Alone, just the shape itself, we're going on different things, not just saying, hey, we found an oval site. And I do like how they don't say boat shape anymore. These articles that attack us, the pastors say, oh, well, the ark shape or boat shape, they don't want to even have a connection to that, even though, look at those original images from the 60s, the low-flying altitude ones, and we have 20 years of declassified satellite photographs from the U.S. spy agencies now of this site. You can see it sitting there over time. But now they say oval or almond shape. They want to get rid of the word boat. Better ask a geologist. Okay, I'm not a geologist, but I'm here and I've studied this enough that I can answer your questions. And we do have geologists and archaeologists on our team. What journals are you hoping to publish results in? I think there'll be different ones that we'll look at. I'm not, it's up to the archaeologist, but some of them will focus in on the actual mythology, like how we did the study, and others will be about the results of certain aspects, whether it's the soil sampling or the results interpretation of the geophysical work for this year's study. I've asked this question on this page multiple times and haven't had a response. what I've had is supporters of the page criticize me for asking. Oh, I'm sorry. You want a name? At the time it's submitted, and then if it's approved or disapproved, we'll give you the name to the journal. Right now, it's 2 weeks into our not excavation, into our survey work and into the research this year. I don't have a top of my head a journal we're going to put anything in. Okay, next question. Could the white rock be the actual altar used for sacrificing after the flood? The ark possibly slid down later and came to rest against it. Oh, that's interesting. It's a theory. I don't know if that's an altar or not. I don't know how we could prove that. Now, the idea that it slid down and got hit by this rock, it's unlikely. I mean, the boulder itself, and we're going to do more study, but according to Dr. Salih Bayrak-Tutan, that type of rock is only from way up on the mountainside, that cliff face there. It's not local rock here, unlike what some critics think. Even Ron Wyatt thought it was a bedrock sticking up and the boat sliding down and impaling itself. We're going to try to do more studies to understand the sequence of events and where that rock came from. When do you guys plan on utilizing the underground drone? We're not going to give out the dates. It's later in the year for sure. And then we'll show you some fascinating video of going down into the earth. Why? I think they mean how. Why did Noah and family, or what did Noah and family do with all the human and animal pee and poop on board? I wasn't there. Did they throw it overboard? Did they recycle somehow? I don't know. And I think this...
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
Hopefully that's a legitimate question. They're just trying to make a joke. There's some things you don't know. And I'm not going to try to say I know. I wasn't there. We're studying the boat's shape. We're doing this scientific work. That type of, theorization, I don't know. Did you read The Ark Before Noah by Irving Finkel? I have his book. No, I haven't read it all. I've seen many of his videos and know his theory. I saw his round-shaped ark, and he thinks it's, like the Babylonian ships, the Iraqi ships down in the middle of the marsh area. I forget the name of that boat. Sorry, I'm not I don't follow everything he puts out and study in depth. But no, I know his theory. I do not believe Noah's Ark was a round, boat made from reeds. What will it entail to excavate the Ark? Turks saying yes. Go ahead, dig a big hole into it. We're doing step by step to prove that we believe it's a man-made object. Once we do that, based on how we know what's going on below the surface with the drilling, if there's some well-preserved remains there, maybe they'll allow something that will let us get into the ship some way from the side. I don't know, from the top ever. I don't know. Let's just see. We're doing this step by step, and we always want to jump ourselves. Even me, I want to jump right to the last thing, which is get down into there. We're going to do it through non-destructive ways this year. When I have questions, I ask scientists. No problem. We'll ask a question. We'll get it to the scientists on our team. He looks like Indiana Jones with a whip tied to his waist. The friend who put out this post, I basically told the team, saying, let's do a Q&A this weekend. So they made a post. They had made a funny internal photo of me looking like Indiana Jones. And my last name's Jones. But they used that for the post. So it is what it is. Let's see. Oh, yeah, people love making this making fun of our name, Noah's Ark Scams instead of scans. Hey, we're doing the workout here. It's not like I could be doing something else in my life. Believe me, has come to become taking over everything. Is trying to do this work and get people involved who have the expertise and experience and can get the permits. So make fun of the name. By the way, I knew people would do that, so we own both domains. I think the noahsarkscans.com domain. We should put something about those looking for the Ark up on Ararat or another location, but I think that's kind of being mean. My goal is not to attack others. They can attack us. Just start digging around it and unbury it. I know, I'm with you on that one. But we're going to do this step by step in a non-destructive way and see how far we get. When you find out it's a natural formation, what will you do then? Well, then you will find out too. We'll put the results out. Will you do a live stream of the underground exploration with the Gopher drone? I don't think it'll be live stream. But definitely be recorded from many angles. Noah's Ark is a rock formation. Great question, but it wasn't a question. It's a statement. Why don't you just dig it up and find out? Multiple people saying that. We're working on that. How can one get into the biblical archaeology field? Go through your university, local. See what they have for ancient, usually it's Near Eastern archaeology or ancient Near Eastern archaeology. It can be Egyptology. Check out the classes. That's how you get into it. What's with the whip, Indiana? That's from the movie. If you've seen the movie, then you'll know he had a whip that he used. It's not a standard archaeological equipment, and that's a fake photo, by the way. That's not me actually dressing up. And the idea is when you guys will have some footage of inside. Yes, that's the second question on that one. Well, we'll get the footage this year, but in regards to releasing it, hopefully we'll show it soon. After that, it won't be live. I don't think there's a way for us to do it live, or if the archaeologists want that. We'll see. Maybe they'll just say, hey, whatever, do it live, even though we haven't gotten the results interpreted on the geological studies. It must be difficult to find something that never existed. Yeah. Well, we're not looking for Santa Claus, and this is biblical history, which I believe the Bible is true, so I'm sorry. Okay, I'll ask again, why don't you start digging already? Why all the scans? Dig. And then I think Noah's our own account followed up saying it's a long formation and we're doing core drilling, which costs thousands of dollars. Yes, so we're not going to just drill holes. We got to know exactly where to drill. That's where the scans come in, because they're going to show us sub-centimeter level accuracy, where to drill, and the depth. And we're using some new technology to peer into the boat. Let's see what else. The Curse of Oak Island TV show, ring a bell? Question mark, question mark. Always looking, never finding the money pot. No, I don't think so. I know what you're talking about the show, but look what we did in 2019. We put out the results. It was on TV with a science channel. We found angular structure there, parallel lines, perpendicular lines with them. That same data then was reinterpreted, and we released the results, and it showed the tunnels, the cavities, and possible with the hashtags. It looks like support beams or floor beams, something that's not natural to the way the pattern of line is lining up deep in the site. So then look at the 2024 results. We did the work. We released the results for the soil, showing there's 3 times more organic matter inside from the 88 random samples we took inside and out. So yeah, we're not just saying, we're always looking what's inside here, give us some more money. This year we're going beyond that. We're doing the coring. We're using new technology, and we're putting it all together under a professional permit with the local university, or Turkish university. So this is much different from past efforts, but we always put out what we've done. And thank you guys who do support the work for all these years. There's some people who've given us, we don't have a lot, but there's some people giving us monthly money that help us live out here and do research and promote the Noah's Ark story. Have no shame. No, we actually have shame, and we do believe that those who don't accept the Bible will someday be shamed because this is real. Noah's Ark was a real. I believe in God. I believe this is real. So, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones. Yes, I know that song, and I'm not a doctor. Is it a fact that you don't actually have a pistol? Is the fact that you actually okay, I'm sorry. I gotta read this over. Maybe I don't want to.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
Is the fact that you don't actually have a pistol a reference to when Indiana Jones lost it fighting with the Bedouins? Someone knows their film history. We'll find out if that's what happened. Hey, I have a hatchet. We got a little hatchet yesterday, so no pistol here. That's illegal for me. How can we pray for you and your team? There are 2 or 3 different groups. They have a chain that have been praying, and some of them are on my WhatsApp, the leader, and he sends me messages, and every morning, lots of messages with the Bible verses, and he asks for prayer, what we need for the prayer request. So we do have prayer teams out there, and I know even our own team, they have a group of women praying, and other people have just personally said they keep us in prayer, and me personally, and we appreciate that. Obviously, this is not just archaeology, I believe. We're doing archaeological, well, this year we're doing geological and geophysical work and scientific work, but as people of faith, we also know that there are other forces involved in trying to stop the work. I know that sounds crazy for those who don't believe or have faith, but that's fine. But I thank you for the prayers. And I can read that one. This one's saying, the site is not Noah's Ark. Okay, well, you didn't do any research, but I'm glad you already know what it is. When are you going to realize Noah's Ark was Derankuyu? They talk about that's the name of the round boats. Sorry, I disagree. And he has a PhD. Nowhere does it say that is Noah's Ark. According to the biblical account, it wasn't even that shape. So yes, you can say, okay, outside of the Bible, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, or what they have today down in the marshlands, this is the type of boats they built. No, the Bible doesn't talk about where Noah's Ark came from. I know people think that it had to come from Mesopotamia, but I don't think so. Well, let's look at this. Regarding any wood, here's a question. The petrified beam section with Ron Wyatt took home was near the surface, so there must be more petrified beams that would be accessible or near the surface, don't you think? Looking forward to seeing the open chambers already imaged. Yeah, we're not excavating. We drill into some of those layers that we're seeing near surface, then that drilling would bring back a sample. So, geological drill will give us some samples to analyze. That sample that Ron took, sadly, no one's allowed to do independent testing of it to go further than what his initial test showed. We want to test everything as thoroughly as possible. Of course, we have to do it legally. So, we're doing it one step at a time with what our permit allows. Thank you, Tim. Hartley. Can you find me one piece of petrified wood? For you? No. If you find petrified wood here or any cultural remains or the geological samples or whatever, they stay with the country of Turkey or with the labs who are analyzing it. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. It's almost sunset here, actually. So it's ending. Will the video be airing on this page? Yes. You'll get that answer. You'll see it on Facebook. If opposition is coming fast and furious, why keep up anything on social media until everything is investigated, substantiated, and published? Obviously, to do a project, people are interested, and it takes funds to do this project. I'm not Bill Gates. I don't have multiple billions in my pocket. The university, same thing. They can get the permits and get the team in place, but to pay for those workers' salary and pay for the testing and the bringing out the scientists to scan it or core it, that takes thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars actually. And so as part of that is showing people what we're doing, what we plan to do. And yes, we expect opposition. We didn't expect some of these people to do what they've done, but we were getting around it. But to say why to stay silent and then later, I wish we could. We had a lot of money. In fact, the first thing we did this year when we got the permit, we were so excited. We made a couple social media posts. That's basically the start of your project. You got your permit now. Maybe we should not have put that out, but then we want to make sure people know that if you're going to give money to a project, that we're doing legal work, not illegal work. At the same time, by alerting everyone else that we had the permit, that brought out all the scoundrels and people who are jealous. Anyways, it is what it is. Was the ark designed to stay in place, not sail, but merely survived the flood? If so, it was built on the same site where it is now? If so, it was built on the... I'm not sure what they're trying to say. I know parts of this question. So if we talk about the ship design, the pointed bow of a ship has nothing to do... the pointed bow of a ship is more than just for sailing. It's also helping with stability of the ship on the open seas. So when incoming waves, you can cut through it so the whole design works together. So you want to keep your bow into the incoming waves and not become parallel so that then you flip over, capsize. So that includes how the ship is designed. It has nothing to do with just the sail. So you would point it in as better designed than square, barge shape, rectangular shape boat on the stormy seas with huge waves. And the back end being rounded also helps disperse that energy of waves coming from the backside, so it doesn't flip your boat around if you had a square end.
Friends, imagine owning real physical gold and silver while still helping fund one of the most exciting scientific expeditions of our time. Goldco is proud to sponsor the groundbreaking 2026 Noah's Ark scientific expedition with noahsarkscans.com. This official Turkish government-approved project is using cutting-edge technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and more to investigate the Durupinar boat-shaped formation in Turkey that many believe could still be the resting place of Noah's Ark. With Goldco, you can protect your savings with high-quality gold and silver, while a portion of specially designed purchases helps power this historical search for answers. Gold has stood the test of time for thousands of years, just like the story of Noah's Ark. Don't wait. Visit noahsarkgold.com and mention Noah's Ark's expedition to get up to $10,000 in free bonus silver. Secure your future and support real discovery. That's noahsarkgold.com.
So in regards to, some people even theorize, I think even Joel Richardson said this, or he asked me, and other people have theorized and claimed that this is not where the ark landed, but where the ark was built, or it landed where it was built. And that makes zero sense. I'm sorry. Please look at the geological data. I know those who are evolutionists will say, well, why don't you do the same? On this mountainside, this is sedimentary rock, flood deposits. So how is this site that you see here, that's the boat-shaped site, how is that the original place they built it? Why would they need a boat shape to build it, unless you think that's how held it together versus scaffolding? I don't know how that works. But this site here is on flood deposits, meaning the flood laid down the sedimentary layers, the boat shape's on top of it. Not how do you get flood deposits before the flood? So how would the original building site, the construction site, be on top of flood deposits before the flood happened? So no, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense, and that's not how it happened. This is not the construction site. By the way, this area would have been, even before the flood, possibly underwater, the way the land masses are. You can say there was a giant continent. Most even creationists believe that Pangea is real, but just that how it spread across and formed different sorry, mosquitoes, formed different continents today, that it happened much quicker than the millions and millions of years. So if you even look at the Pangea idea, this area would have been an inland sea. And that also shows that how we have fossils here from the global flood, but also that before there was a sea here. So it's very hard to build a boat in an inland sea. So I don't think that this is anywhere near where they built Noah's Ark. This is where it landed, though. Thank you, Luann Barger. You got to come back see the site. I don't know if these comments will make it into any video they edit. The editors are looking over it, and I'm sorry. Sometimes we're scrolling looking for good things. I'm just replying to comments, so I don't know if they all will make it on the edited video that we'll put out. He's not an archaeologist if he's pretending to look for fictional items. Well, first, I'm not an archaeologist, and that's a AI Indiana Jones photo. But in regards to what we're doing here, we have real archaeologists involved and geologists. Let's see what else. All these people saying never existed, never existed. Okay, then why are you following us on and commenting and wasting your time on our social media page? Okay. You and your team better hope it's not. This isn't a nothing burger. Hope you guys are actually on to something. That's what science is, right? You're gonna investigate and see what the data shows and go with that. If you're scared to be involved in something like this because it might be a negative answer, then it's best not to be involved at all. But yes, I think it's the best candidate for Noah's Ark, and let's see what the data shows. So, dear Dr. Jones, well, I'm not a doctor, but how the F can you possibly mistake a geological formation of volcanic rock for remnants of a timber structure? It's not rocket scientist. Thank you, James, for that comment. And yeah, well, it's not a solid block of rock, and it's not a syncline, and it's not volcanic rock. There's volcanic rock and dirt that's come in, and sedimentary rock too. But let's see. Well, we got a lot of negative comments there. We're just gonna skip some of these bad words. This bloke is claiming that an entirely natural rock formation is evidence of Noah's Ark. That's something to miss. Yeah, first, it's not a rock formation. How much money are you making from this? Well, I rent a small apartment, and I don't own my own vehicle, and I put all my money into this research, and we go fundraise and other people to help us with this research. It's beyond what I make. But no, I don't have some secret bank account. I'm not rich. I'm one of those mega church pastors with millions of dollars in a Learjet. So no, I don't make enough to survive, put it that way. A very small amount of money. But I can eat, so I thank God for this shelter and for food. And a lot of people don't have that. Are you worried about the FBI investigating for fraud? No, not really, because Noah's Ark is not fraud. And what we're doing here is legitimate scientific work. So thanks, Collins. How much has this farce cost so far? Well, it's not a farce, but for example, the survey team that came in, and it's a legitimate Turkish company that does survey work across Turkish archaeological sites. They were about $30,000 to do the whole thing. And so they're still not finished. They have a couple of weeks to process the data and get us the deliverables. Let's see. Someone doesn't like the indie role playing. I would not. You can have an opinion on that. That's an AI photo that the media team made and is used to get people to ask me questions. But no, I don't go around here dressed like Indiana Jones. The site should be called Noah's Ark Scams. Well, I own the domain name, so we will put up maybe information about other sites. People saying it's Noah's Ark who have not done zero scientific work. Science progresses by attempting to disprove hypotheses. Yes, Bob. What observation or test results would lead you to publicly conclude we were wrong? This is not Noah's Ark. I think if you were to drill down into these layers, whether the right angles, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, or the layers, or these I call them hashtags, these lines that form like a hash mark down below, going into these voids and showing that they're all natural and not man-made forming void, finding zero cultural remains or anything in the soil that would suggest a decayed wooden boat. Or if we drill down in and it's just dirt all the way, and the dirt itself again is not suggesting that the decayed remains of a boat, then we'll say this is what we found and didn't find. And yeah, I think that's regards to we were wrong and this is not Noah's Ark and just happened to be 300 cubits long. Right now we're doing this because it is an interesting site and it has interesting scans and chemical soil, the chemistry in the soil, and it's in the mountains of Ararat. We're not in China trying to do this or in Africa or Mongolia. We're in the location the Bible says the ark landed. That's why we're doing it. Now, when we get to the point when we say this is or this is not Noah's Ark, well, that's what science is. We're going to go here and do this work, and we're going to put out the results. And if we have to do more too, most excavations or most scientific work is not done over one season, but we will pursue as much as we can. And at a certain point, we'll have enough data to say this is this or this is not this. So. I think we're done with the questions, actually. Yeah, well, that was it. I went through my other chat platforms, see if somebody sent in a question, and no one did. Well, you guys, thanks again, and we'll just keep at it and keep you guys updated. We'll do this again maybe in a month. Hopefully have some new things to talk about after what's coming up next. God bless. Bye-bye.